It's Matt
and Gibi,
and today we'll be reading a short horror story from the NoSleep subreddit.
This one is The Blackwater Killing Song by BrightestMorningStar.
We hope you'll enjoy it. Here we go. My mama had the most beautiful singing voice, but she only ever sang for me. Growing up, we lived in a ramshackle trailer, added on to over the years with tin siding and scrap wood. It leaked something fierce in the rain, and I reckon it was what most people would call a disgrace. But I loved it. It sat perched in the center of a dusty field, hemmed in with crabapple trees and patches of thorny bushes that me and the neighbor kids called shirt grabbers, as they were likely to snare you if you weren't careful running by. Not that we had many neighbors, mind you, living on the outskirts of Blackwater, a tiny town that didn't even rank high enough to appear on most maps. The nearest house was a good 45-minute walk down a dirt road, but luckily my best friend Bobby LeDuc Jr. and I had bikes, so that never bothered us none. Bobby LeDuc Jr. That's how he always introduced himself too, proud of his three-name moniker, as he said it made him feel like the fancy rich folk down in Carlisle County. Me and Bobby would waste away the summer, getting into all sorts of trouble, chasing the chickens at old Mr. Whitaker's place, running amok through the fields, and damn near fishing the river clean out of trout. As much fun as we'd be having, though, I always looked forward to the night time when my mama would sit on the porch and sing to me, just the crickets and the bullfrogs for backup. Her voice was like a clear blue sky or a cold drink of water to a parched throat. She'd sing slowly, voice building in strength so carefully you never even noticed until she was belting out the words, the crescendo crashing over your ears, goosebumps tensing on your skin. I asked her plenty of times why she didn't sing for anyone else. She could have made a lot of money, in my estimation, performing at a dinner club or some such. She always chuckled and ruffled my hair, and would tell me that some things aren't meant to be shared. She was a private person, my mama, so I thought maybe she was just shy. She hadn't even dated nobody since my daddy disappeared before I was even out of her tummy, and she hardly ever went into town. When she did, it was for bare necessities, and she didn't linger long either. I heard some of the town folk talking rumors about her once, saying all types of hateful things. She's a hermit, she's hiding something, she's not right in the head. I was so mad hearing that crap coming out of their mouths, and I was just getting my courage together to say something about it when Mrs. Primrose set 'em all straight. She told 'em to mind their manners, and that maybe my daddy's leaving had something to do with it. Then she bought me an ice cream and told me not to worry none about them no good busybodies with nothing but cotton between their ears. So I took a page out of my mama's book, as they say, and I kept to myself too. We didn't need for anything anyway, out in our little piece of paradise. When the floods came one year, rising up like something out of the Bible, we almost had to leave, but my mama said everything would be fine. We just had to wait and see and trust the river. Plus, if we'd have left, the only place we could have gone was to the trailer park further into town, and Mama wasn't having any of that. She didn't want to be surrounded by that many other folk, and there wasn't no water up there neither. She had to live by water, she always said, and the river running through the back of our property was enough for her. So life went on, me sprouting up like a weed and her tending the garden and singing for no one's ears but our own. Eventually, though, the money started to dry up like corn husks in the drought. I never really asked where she got our living from. Every month we had just enough to get by, but we'd been getting by on less in recent memory. I didn't have no grandparents, far as I knew, so I figured she was getting help from some stockpile maybe my daddy had left her before he up and disappeared. One night, hotter than Hades and just as Maine, I was having trouble sleeping. I figured a dip in the river was just the thing, so I carefully crept out, minding the hinges on the back screen door so they didn't give me away. I walked down to the water, silent as an owl's wings, and made to get into that cool water, already feeling the refreshing current in my mind. I had one toe in when I saw my mama. She was down on the riverbank, same as me, except she wasn't swimming. She was hauling something up out of the water, and it was heavy from the look of it. I called out to her, part curious what she was meddling with at that hour, and part to see if I could help her with whatever she was getting up to. She startled pretty badly, and after a good tongue lashing for my sneaking around, she showed me what she had. It was a big wooden box, like something from a pirate movie, and it held gold coins just the same. My eyes nearly fell right out of my face, and I stood there ogling like a newborn fool, till she slapped me upside my head and told me this was a secret with a capital S. She told me how if anyone found out, they'd come and take what was ours, and just like her singing voice, it wasn't meant to be shared. So for a time, every few weeks, we made a midnight trip to the riverbank to withdraw a couple more coins from the quickly shrinking stash. She didn't say nothing, but I could see the worry in Mama's eyes. Those coins wouldn't stretch much farther, so something had to be done. At 13, I fancied myself the man of the house, stepping in to fill the shoes of the father I never had. So I hatched a plan. Her voice. She could sell out the theater, hell, maybe even get on the radio if the right people heard her singing. She was too shy, though, so I knew I had to help her. Just like pulling out a stubborn tooth, best to get it over with quick instead of worrying at it with your tongue. Maybe she didn't think she was really any good, even though I told her all the time. I guess when it comes from your own kid, compliments are harder to believe, and she thought I was just being kind out of loyalty. So with that thought in my brain, I biked down to the library, lickety-split. I wasn't no good on the computer, so I borrowed a felt marker and some paper and made a flyer. Come hear the voice of an angel. Free performance Friday night at 9 p.m. 7643 Ash Road. The librarian, a usually cantankerous old biddy, even helped me make copies on the photocopier. Didn't charge me nothing for it neither. I think she was just so curious, excited at the chance to come out to our property, that she had a rare minute of manners. My bundle in hand, I set off and blasted damn near half the town with my ad. I reckoned someone was going to hear her singing and offer her a job on the double. Obviously, I didn't tell Mama none of my scheme, knowing she'd never agree, so Friday night I made sure to get her out on the back porch singing, lured by some sun tea I made her earlier that afternoon. She was belting out a ballad, lost in the song when the first people started to arrive. They came in quiet like, already hearing her voice and careful not to disturb the show. Mama didn't notice at all. She was in her music trance like I knew she would be, and soon the crowd was too. No one moved, not even to swat mosquitoes. They all just gathered around the porch, eyes wide and lips parted. It went on for a time, a fire of pride for my mama building in my chest, the crowd's sighs building too. When the final note rang out and the singing stopped, Mama came back to herself. When she saw the crowd, she didn't say anything for a lick. Then her eyes landed on one of the flyers I'd made, clutched in the hand of one of the townspeople.
No, 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 no. What did you do?
She was in hysterics, but the crowd didn't even react. Her eyes were hard with anger as she grabbed my hand and hauled me into the trailer, grabbing her purse and car keys on the way. Before I could blink, we were in the car, hightailing it down the road. Mama, come on. I knew you'd be mad, but this is crazy. Why are we running? I asked her, contrite as a sinner in church. She didn't take her eyes off the road as she said,
Look behind you. You'll see. They ain't never gonna leave us alone now.
I twisted in my seat, not yet belted in, and peered out the back window. Sure as hell, the whole crowd, nearly all the town of Blackwater from the looks of it, was barreling down the road behind us, desperately trying to catch up. What's going on, Mama? I asked, scared right down to the marrow of my bones by that point. Why are they chasing us?
Shut up and sit down, or I swear to God, Ricky.
Her threat had its intended effect, and I quickly buckled in. We rode through town in silence, stopping in the next county just as the sun was stretching out its arms. Weary and confused as a boiled toad, I stayed shut up as Mama checked us into a cheap motel off the highway. After a quick meal of vending machine crackers, we climbed into the matching twin beds, AC cranked on full, and set to getting some sleep. A few hours later, I was pulled from a dream by an incessant racket coming from outside. Mama heard it too, and quickly she had me up and a finger to her lips.
Okay, Ricky. This is very important. We need to be quiet, and we're gonna get out of here as fast as we can. There's a crowd outside wanting me, but they ain't gonna catch me, you hear? I need you to follow me, but keep back. Just remember, it's not you they want, okay?
I was about to object, a million questions buzzing around my brain, but she shushed me once more and pressed the car keys into my hand.
We're gonna go now, and everything's gonna be fine. But just in case, you hold on to these keys, and if you need to, you get out of here and forget about me.
With that, she pulled me out the door behind her. She paused for a second, then started sprinting away. I kept back like she'd said, creeping down the walkway with eyes on a turret, casting my gaze around like a net. Sure enough, clustered around our car was the crowd from the night before. They were glassy-eyed and haggard, all chanting the same single word. Sing, 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 over and over, like a dog with a bone. Sure as hell, there was a Bobby LeDuc Jr. holding vigil right along with the rest of them. They didn't interrupt their call as I got closer, not noticing me at all. I knew it the second they noticed Mama, though. There she is! It's her! Someone screamed, their voices loud as gunfire. Suddenly, my mama came barreling out of nowhere, running in a zigzag pattern like a hunted hare.
Start the car, Ricky.
She screamed, trying to draw the crowd away from the vehicle. The crowd surged as one, people pushing each other in their rush to get to Mama. Fights broke out, neighbors and friends tearing at each other, trying to jump the line. Someone's scream pierced through the din, and I looked up to see Bobby LeDuc Jr. drive a hatchet right into the head of the local hardware store manager. I almost threw up my crackers right then and there, but I couldn't look away from the scene in front of me. A woman was closing in on my mama, reaching out her hand to grab the back of her shirt. I opened my mouth to shout a warning, but was stopped silent as the woman's hand suddenly fell away, arm severed at the elbow by the local butcher, brandishing a cleaver. "She's mine," he bellowed. Eyes bulged as he turned towards the crowd, motioning with his knife for them to keep back. The mob never even paused, crashing into him like a train, people punching and kicking, lashing out with weapons if they had 'em. Blood sprayed the concrete. Everything devolved into the kind of mayhem usually reserved for slasher movies. By that point, I had managed to get to the car, jumping in and cranking the key. It roared to life, and I slammed on the accelerator, trying to recall the few driving lessons Mama had given me on our acreage. The crowd distracted, Mama made a beeline for the vehicle, jumping in just as I pulled out of the lot, yelling for me to speed up. "You gonna tell me what all this is about?" I cried, focusing hard on my foot pressed on the gas pedal, taking turns at breakneck speed. That was insane. She was quiet for a minute, collecting her breath after running from the mob that had chased her.
"We just gotta get to the ocean. Then we'll be safe,"
she said, half to herself. I didn't understand, and I asked her as much. "Mama, what do you mean the ocean? What's that got to do with any of this? We need to go to the police or something." I was indignant at that point, ready to demand answers after what I'd just seen. She smiled then, and it wasn't no nice smile neither.
"When we get to the ocean, I can call my sisters. They'll help, you see."
I hadn't even known my mama had any sisters, let alone any living by the ocean. "Well, what city they in, Mama?" I asked, trying to at least get a destination out of her. Her smile remained, but her eyes took on a distant look, like someone gazing into their past at the best part they lived so far.
"Doesn't matter which city. Any part of the ocean will do. I just gotta get to the water, 'cause that's where they are. They'll get us more money. Then we can put this all behind us."
"Mama, I still don't understand," I wheezed, ashamed at how my voice had taken on a childlike whine. "You mean they live in the ocean?" She took a breath and then began to tell me the story.
"Did you learn any mythology in school yet, Ricky? You see, your father was a sailor. And once he heard me singing, he could never get me out of his head."
And that is all.
We hope you enjoyed it.
I'd like to thank BrightestMorningStar for giving me permission to read this story. And I'd also like to thank Gibi for collaborating with me.
Thanks for listening.
Have a good night.